Hey everybody, it's Moog here from Mighty Car Mods, and you are on NCM TV2 for another episode of NCM, which is not car mods. Today, we are talking about what is in my backpack. Now, this is my Bob, my bug out bag, and this is a backpack that I set up a couple of years ago, which has gone with me everywhere. It's gone on road trips, it's gone camping, it's gone when I've just been going out and exploring new places. So I want to share with you what's inside the bag and also some rationale about why I set it up like that. Because not many people are traveling overseas because of COVID and other restrictions, there are heaps of people that are road tripping for the first time. They're going camping, they're going hiking. And so I thought this video would be a really great start for some of you to start kind of thinking about how you can be prepared when you're hitting the road. This bag has come into its own on so many occasions. I'm going to show you what's inside my bag. Yours might be slightly different, but I'll show you what's in mine, why it's in there, and then I'll tell you when I actually had to use this bag for real. The most important aspect to think about is when you're putting together a survivalist backpack like this is in what kind of environments you think that you would actually need to survive. Now for me, it's something that I put together for when I'm road tripping or I'm exploring out in my car. When you look at some of these videos online, there's lots of people talking about where to put their guns and their ammunition and where to hang their grenades and all this kind of zombie stuff. It's just not circumstances that I'm going to need to use this. So for me, I wanted something that if I break down on the side of the road or I'm kind of in a remote area, I can survive for a day or two without being too uncomfortable. You've got to remember as well as if you are, kind of in and around a car, you've already got shelter, you've possibly got power, you've possibly got your water, you've got stuff around you anyway. So this is not something that I designed to be able to survive for, weeks and weeks on end. So the first thing you want to look at is your backpack as well, and you want to go for something that is a really quality backpack. This is a tactical 511 backpack. There's a few different rationales in terms of color. Something really bright means it's easy to find, but it stands out. Something black is kind of, something a bit more subdued. I avoided the camo completely because I think that kind of just draws too much attention towards itself. This here is just something that is really sturdy. You want something that's waterproof, something where you've got the options to attach lots of other things on the front of it. That's the bag. Let me go through. I'm just going to go through each compartment and kind of show you what's in there. And I've tried to arrange things kind of in the order that you would probably need them. So up here is just a really basic one for these days, which is a mask and some sunnies. If you're kind of stuck on the side of the highway and you need to go and get some fuel or something like that, that is something that you're going to need. So those ones there are really, really easy to get to, super accessible. From the top over here as well, we have got this here is just a packing cell for carrying more things in case you do have to go and you've got to get food or you've got to kind of get away from your car and go and carry more things back than you can fit in the backpack. I've deliberately not stuffed this backpack full of stuff. There is space inside and I'll show you more about that in a second. Also in here, I've just got a little Mentos can, and inside here, I keep cash, and it also has copies of my driver's license and important documentation printed out on a piece of paper. Now, even though in Australia our money is completely waterproof, I thought I would make this in a waterproof container anyway because it does have those other documents in it, and also if you're overseas, that is just a really easy way of carrying your things around. Mine has a magnet on the back of it. I put that on there because I thought maybe in some circumstances I might need to leave something for someone else. I don't know in what circumstances I would need to do that, but it means that I could possibly put some money or some documents in there, put it up under a bench or hide it somewhere, and somebody can go and retrieve that. So it kind of makes it an easy thing for them to find. On this side here, again, simple ones. We've just got a lighter and some matches, waterproof ones, of course. A really small torch, just a USB powered torch. This is a great little Nightcore torch. This is excellent. And in here, I have some chargers. Some people talk again about compasses and stuff. I don't think I'm going to need a compass. If I need a compass, the world has really gone to shit and I'm probably in more trouble than I realize. All right, so down the front here is other things that I would need to readily access. So down here, I've got a thing full of Band-Aids. Most of these kind of cheap, like really, really cheap first aid kits that you can get are just kind of these bulky boxes with not much in it. So get your own box and like fill it with your own stuff, particularly things that you think you're going to use. I also have in here just wipes and things to give yourself a clean with. This is also particularly important if you're traveling with other people and they will want this stuff as well. So over here, I've got a larger torch as well. Similar to my workshop, how I talked about, if you saw this workshop tour, I have multiples of headphones, multiples of goggles, multiples of tape is that you're probably not going to be traveling by yourself a lot of the time. You're going to be with someone else. And so it is a good idea to be able to have, one item for you and one item for them. You obviously don't want to double up on everything, but with some things, just like ways to ignite a fire and to illuminate yourself, that is a really good idea. I've also got a pen in there, a Sharpie. You don't know if you're going to need to like leave messages or something for somebody. Over here, I've just got some Dettol. That's just like wound spray. Which is, you fall over, you graze yourself, you give it a spray, which is better than nothing at all. And then also just a really simple blade. So that there is just really basic, no frills. This here, I think, along with a multi-tool is going to do most of, pretty much everything that you need to do. In here, I've got some AeroGuard. There's sunscreen. Sun's the killer. If you've ever broken down and you're kind of walking along a highway, you want your sunscreen. This here is, of course, a Leatherman, kind of an indispensable tool, really, that has lots of different functions on it. A really, really handy thing to have. Some places, depending on where you are in the world, there can be different rules and regulations about how you're carrying blades with you. I think that's another really important aspect to making sure that you have kind of a survival backpack situation or a first aid kit where something like that would be reasonable to have in that situation, but obviously, check with your own kind of rules and regulations. There's some spare batteries in here, which is for torches, but also for CB radios. And then this one here, which you might have seen in some of our kind of off-road adventures, which is just a power bank, which charges by the sun. It's solar, which is really, really handy. So that is the front. And then in here, just a hat, really simple hat, a squash down one. I actually got this one when we were over in Abu Dhabi for Fast and Furious 7, and something that squashes down is really, really good. I know there's lots of really great big fishing hats and stuff, but in this case you want to try and have things that are fairly small. So that is the front of the pack and most of the things that you're going to kind of need to get to readily. And now we are going to jump inside and I'll show you what is going on in here. I'm looking for the kind of things that I can help make myself comfortable and the people I'm with for a day or two rather than a survival situation. A lot of people talk about this kind of rule of threes, which is you can last, 3 minutes without oxygen, more if you've been training, of course, and deep sea diving and stuff like that. 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. So this here, I can't imagine that I would need to be using this for more than 2 or 3 days. But anyway, here is what we have inside. So starting up here, you want to include any medications, get doubles that you've got, particularly if you've got prescription medications. You want to make sure you've got doubles of those things. I've just got some Panadols and I've also got some Aquatabs for cleaning water. Some people use a life straw, which is another way of kind of purifying water. I've also just got a set of playing cards in there because you just never know how long you're going to be somewhere, and it's important to keep your mind active and actually have something to do. So cards are a way that you can play with other people, or you can even play games yourself. This is kind of my making section in here. So this is where you kind of if you need to kind of put some kind of shelter or something together. So this is cable ties, it's tape. So I've got some gloves here. I've got a gaiter. So this is really handy. You can obviously wear this as a face mask. You can wear it as an eye shield. You can wear it to keep your neck warm. Or if you're kind of out in the sun and it's really hot, you can wear it like this and use it to wipe sweat off your brow. It's just a really handy, versatile thing to have. You don't necessarily have to buy one of our ones. I will put a link up anyway, but any one is going to be a good one. Also, some cable ties. These are indispensable. I mean, I have them in my bag. I've got them in my workshop. They're all over the place. And of course, some paracord and also some gaffer tape or duct tape. So you want to make sure that, between those things, you should be able to pretty much make any kind of really simple structure or do really basic repairs that you would need to when you are out on the side of the road or a highway somewhere. I've got a couple of containers for carrying water. This one here obviously pops out and expands. This one here I've had for years. You can also use it to urinate in if you're in a really cold area and then stick it in your sleeping bag and keep yourself warm. Sounds gross, but do what you need to do, particularly if you are in a survival situation. It goes without saying I'm not a survivalist. I don't have experience in the army. I'm just a normal dude who drives around cars, but I have spent a lot of time traveling around the world, and I've spent a lot of time hiking, and I also have had an off-road camper for a long time, which is basically a fold-out camper, and I've been using that for years as well, so I have a little bit of experience with that. A blade, which is a really, really handy thing to have if you need to clear anything or you need to cut stuff up, or if you need to make a structure. There's that one there. First aid kit, which has basically got kind of more detailed things than what I've got in my little pack at the front. Up here, we've got a poncho, but it's also a nylon tarp. So between this and some rope, you can make yourself a little shelter if you need to. I've got a Reactor Extreme. So instead of putting a whole sleeping bag in here, they can get bulky, or if you're using hiking ones, they can get really, really expensive. So I have one of those. I love my pillow. I don't think this is actual live or die situation, but for something that is so small, if I have to be sleeping on the side of the road, I would rather have a pillow than not one. I keep 2 of these usually in the bag at any one time, which is only 1.5 liters of water, but I always carry a lot of water in my car whenever I'm road tripping in. So the situation would be that once I realize that I've actually got to activate my bob and get out on the road, then I'm going to put more water in there that I have in the car using some of these canteens. Now, when it comes to food, again, I can't imagine I'm going to be away from my car for more than a day or two. So I've got one meal, which is just a camping meal. This is something you just heat some water up over the fire. But really what I've got in here is just a bunch of high calorie foods. So jerky in there, there's protein balls, there's nuts, there's chocolates, there's lollies. And a guy that I know, he kind of reached the summit of Mount Everest, and I did the music for a documentary that he was in about his story. And what was amazing, he was just eating bags and bags and bags of lollies. In a survival situation, not everyone made it back down, but he just needed the calories to get up there. So that is enough food for probably me and another person or two to kind of keep going for a couple of days. And then in here, I've just got some emergency blankets, space blankets for staying warm. And I've also got just some more gloves, which are kind of heavier duty gloves, if you need to be kind of cutting stuff down. This is basically a little cooking kit. Again, this is kind of climate dependent. In Australia, in the middle of summer, it can get to, 45 plus degrees, depending on where you are. But if you're in a cold area, something like this could be a game changer or even a lifesaver. So this little kit here is basically utensils and 2 pots and all of the equipment that you would need to actually cook yourself up some food, including a meal like this here that just requires hot water. So the way that I've set this up is all of the gear that I need is actually inside, and where you can, that's a really great way of saving space. I've got a couple of different ways of lighting the fire in case one of them fails. And inside here is a little burner, and that burner just goes on top of there. That goes on top, put the lid on, cooks. You've got a couple of pots. Here's just some titanium cutlery. You don't need to use titanium. This was just, they're light. They're kind of a little bit more expensive than plastic, but look, I thought it was kind of cool, so I got those as well. And alternatively, if you don't want to do the whole backpack and all of that stuff, what you can do is sometimes when I'm camping, I'll just organize a little kit like this, which has just got the basic stuff that you might need, some breakfast food, some cleaning items, some first aid, salt and pepper, cooking things, cleaning things, toilet paper. That kind of as a minimum is something that you could take with you. And my other little breakout bag here has got things in it like comms. So again, kind of multiple CB radios, which is really good because you can leave one with someone in the car and then you can go exploring or doing what you need to do, or also something like a Garmin GPS. So they are the little breakout pieces, and now I'll tell you about a time that I actually had to use this backpack for real. So a couple of years back, you might have seen in the news that we had horrendous bushfires a couple of hours south of Sydney, and it burnt for months and a lot of people lost everything that they had. I was actually down in that part of New South Wales at the time and was involved in an emergency situation with a family member. We were staying in quite a remote area and ended up having to call 000, which in Australia is our 911. Eventually the ambulance got there, and I realised that person did have to be taken to the emergency department at hospital. And I was kind of freaking out going, how long are we going to be in hospital? What are we going to need? And I just had to take a breath and go, I have this. I just made this bag 2 weeks earlier, and I'd made one as a gift for a friend as well. And I went, everything that we could need for a couple of days in a hospital stay is going to be there. And so the ambulance went off. I chased the ambulance down through the night in my car until we got to the hospital. It was after midnight by this stage. When we got to the hospital, we received really, really great care down there. So thank you for that. It's amazing that you can get care when you need it in Australia. But what I soon realized was that there were a lot of other people in the emergency department that night that didn't have anything at all. And that really flipped my mind in a way that I thought, this bag I thought was to help me survive or maybe my friends. But I soon realized that being prepared is actually something that can help all of the other people around me as well. And for you, if you put a bag together, something that you can help people around you. And so I went around the emergency department that night and I asked if anybody needed anything. And some people said, I'd love it if you had some spare food. Some people had kids there, so I could give them some playing cards and go, there you go, there's something to do. Hand out some lollies. And for that reason, that's why I kept some treats in here, because you never know when you're going to be in an emergency situation, or maybe with people that are traumatized. And that a lolly, a simple little treat, can be such a life-saving thing for people at that time. It's a real lifeline. And so I would start to think about my bag instead as something not just to help me, but to help people around me. And that night really solidified for me how important it is to be prepared. So it doesn't mean you have to be a survivalist or a doomsday prepper or anything like that. It just means making sure you, your family, and possibly people that you meet out there on the highway can get the help when they need it. Now, if you are an experienced survivalist, or you've been in the armed forces or the military and you've got tips, I would love to hear them, and I hope that this video can become a compendium of information. So please leave some comments down below if there are more tips you have, or great tips you have for kind of road trip tips and survival and things like that. And I will put together a little pack of things that will discount on the Mighty Car Mod shop, of things that can go in your survival pack, like zip ties, gloves, masks, gaiters, things like that, which would be helpful for you when you're putting your kit together. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and I hope you got something out of it, and I hope that now you would kind of think about how you're going to prepare yourself if you're going to start driving around or road tripping around the place. This is NCM, another episode of Not Car Mods, and we'll look forward to seeing you further on this channel, and of course on the main channel of Mighty Car Mods. Stay safe, everyone. Drive safe. Look after yourself. Look after your mates, and you never know, you might end up having to look after a stranger as well. Thanks, everyone. See you later.